Hello everybody, I am Tom and you are watching my first impressions of Apex Legends.
They say it's a sport of survival.
Apex Legends kinda came out of nowhere. It is, in essence, a free-to-play team-based battle royale game. It was created by Respawn Entertainment under the publishing oversight of EA. It had literally no advertising before coming out, and it was released on February 5th. The only reason I heard of it was because I went onto Discord and I was like, hey, I want to farm some Eidolons. So I went to friends and said, let's go farm some Eidolons in Warframe. And all those nerds were like, no way man, we're playing Apex, come play Apex. So an hour or so of downloading later, there I was, for the following 6 or so hours, playing some looting, shooting battle royale. Respawn Entertainment, best known for their previous work on Titanfall series, seemed to be actively behind the conspicuous lack of advertising, with the lead producer Drew McCroy stating to Eurogamer that, we're doing a free-to-play game with essentially loot boxes, after we were bought by EA, and it's not Titanfall 3. That's a perfect recipe for a marketing plan to go awry, so why have it? Let's just ship the game and let players play. Which honestly, is likely the correct course of action as far as I'm concerned. EA's in a shit currently when it comes to consumer goodwill, and if they made a large buzz around a free-to-play battle royale that was coming in place of Titanfall 3, the backlash would have been hard. And admittedly, we did see some of this kind of backlash from some news sites and YouTubers anyway, who were disappointed about the release, or rather, more likely disappointed by the fact that it wasn't Titanfall 3. I think the difference being that that disappointment is comparatively short-lived, because people are just going to be playing the game. If they'd announced this 6 months ago and people had time to stew over this, it probably would have been much worse. The statement by McCoy, however, isn't to disparage the game. Indeed, he was tweeting about it later, giving it glowing support, to which he said, Apex Legends is a result of putting one of the best FPS dev team in the world on a game focused on doing a few things really well. We look at Battle Royale as a genre, not a mode, and we're here to help mold it. Hope everyone is enjoying the game as much as we had making it.
They say it's a sport of survival.
The basic gameplay loop of Apex is much like what you would expect if you've played any other battle royale. There's a fairly large map with a decreasing range of survivable radius as the time progresses, pushing the 20 teams of 3 people into conflict by restricting the battlefield. Apex is first and foremost a first-person shooter. Upon entering a game, you choose a character or legend out of a cast of 8, 6 of which are actually playable from the start and there's 2 that you need to unlock. Your legend determines the abilities that you possess, consisting of a passive, an active, and an ultimate ability. As an example, the Happy Robot Man Pathfinder has a personal grappling hook, his ultimate deploys a permanent zipline that him or any of his teammates can use, and his passive allows him to hack terminals on the map to see where the subsequent safe zones are going to be, so you can plan your route better when you're running through the map. Weapons in this game are done like any battle royale, in which you start with nothing and you have to scavenge your weapons, and the modifications for said weapons, as well as armor from the map. All the while, you've got to weigh up whether or not you go for the good loot, with having a high-risk area where a lot of people are going to be and you're going to get into a fight sooner, or you can go for the shittier areas, where they have not as good loot, but you're probably safer while you're scavenging, giving you more time to scavenge what you need. And so far, so standard, it sounds pretty much like all of the other battle royales that exist. So what does Apex do that's different? I think most notably is the fact that this game is team-based, period. You're launched into the game with teams consisting of 3 people. You can't play solo. And there's a lot of mechanics centered around making the team experience as smooth as possible. Most of my 5 or so hours playing, actually I think it was probably closer to about 6, I think it was 5 3/4 thereabouts. I was in a group with my friends, over Discord, so the waypoint mechanics were kind of not as crucial because we could simply just talk to each other. However, they're very comprehensive. You can ping a gun and all your teammates will hear your character audibly call out the name of the gun, and a detailed waypoint will appear on the HUD. If you ping a direction, you'll get some great quality voice acting indicating let's try going over there. Ping an enemy and, well, you get the idea. It allows for fairly comprehensive communication even if you're playing with someone either incapable or uncomfortable for talking over the mic. Which is worth noting that if you prefer, the game also allows push-to-talk or active mic. Another difference in Apex is the ability to revive a killed player. You can be revived from being downed easily enough, such as in Fortnite. However, if you're totally killed, as in you've been downed and then you get executed or shot till you're dead, your teammates can claim your banner if they get to your body. They then carry that banner until they can find a respawn center. If they can get you there, and then actually get the banner in there, then you airdrop back in and you can continue playing as a team. This is a brilliant feature, firstly because the game is forced co-op, So it solves the problem where you're going to have one team member dying and either having to leave the game and go do another one while they wait, or they have to sit there for the rest of the game watching you play and not having as much fun. Secondly, it also encourages finishing a fight rather than running away if one of your teammates is killed. Because if you can kill the opposing team and get your friend's banner, then you can revive them, and that's going to put you in much better stead for future skirmishes.
They say it's a sport of survival.
So how does it run? Well, for me, quite well after fiddling with some graphical options. I got a solid 60 FPS at 1080p, and that's on, I've got an i7 4770K and a GTX 770, which at this point is actually a kind of underpowered graphics card. I need to upgrade. The notable changes I made were to turn off volumetric lighting, which actually seemed to make it look quite a bit better in my opinion. There was less blurry at distances. And I also turned off dynamic spot shadows. And with those two changes, I was running smooth 60 for the remainder of my time playing. The only time I got a few drops was if there was like a lot of players all doing... There's one character I should say, one legend, whose ability drops an airstrike. And if you had a few people doing that at once, I dropped down to about 40 because it's a lot of explosions. But it's also worth noting that my friend who was playing for slightly longer than I did experienced 2 crashes in the entire time he was playing. So probably about 7 or 8 hours I think he was playing, and he got 2 just straight crashed desktops. There was no error message or anything, it just crashed. And after I reloaded the game, there wasn't any instant, but it's worth noting that your mileage may vary from mine.
They say it's a sport of survival.
As I stated earlier, this game's mainstay of monetization is loot boxes. They drop cosmetics for your legends and your weapons, and you get a free loot box every time you level up, as well as some in-game currency that can be used to unlock the 2 locked characters. It's worth noting they can also be bought with the premium Apex coins, but it's 12,000 in-game currency to unlock them, or 750 Apex coins, which is about $7.50 American, not quite. But the loot boxes can also contain crafting materials, which can be used to create specific skins that you're after rather than relying on luck to get to drop from a loot box. All in all, I don't feel like the monetization is that bad. All of the unlocks, except for those 2 locked characters, are cosmetic, and the rate of free loot boxes seem fast enough that I haven't really much to complain about. Granted, this is an impression of about 5 to 6 hours of gameplay, so it may slow down further on to the point of being a bad system, but for now, it seems really good. It's also worth noting that Respawn publishes the drop rates for the loot boxes, both in-game and online, which is a move that I applaud generously, because I really wish more developers would do it. It's a kind of information that will be data mined anyway, so you may as well have that accessible and just easy to find. It's a nice gesture from the developers. And for reference, the lowest drop chance is a legendary item, which is a drop chance of just over 7% chance. It's not particularly bad as far as I'm concerned. I think it's about 7.4% is what it was. As for the cosmetics themselves, there's a fairly wide array. The obvious ones first, you're going to get your skins for your legends or for your guns, and they're just equipable from the main menu. And you can also get, however, quotes for your legendaries that they'll say in given situations. You can get alternative artwork, poses, and stat trackers for your banners, which is like the display that other players will see on loading screens and things like that. You can also get alternative animations for finishing moves and things like that. And a finishing move is essentially if there is a downed player, you can go up to them and do a finishing animation, which will immediately kill them, won't take any ammo.
They say it's a sport of survival.
And finally, in conclusion, should you try it? Well, it gets a solid recommendation from me. You should at least try it. I mean, it's free to play, and that aspect kind of makes it a pretty easy call. If you enjoy first-person shooters, then there isn't much of a reason you're not going to like this. It's also worth noting that usually I'm not like really big into team-based games. Most of the time I find that, unless I've got a dedicated group of friends that all want to play it at the same time, the matchmaking process makes it too hard to communicate with random people. Apex's fantastic marking and waypoint features kind of alleviate this burden hugely, so it makes it much nicer to play with random people as well as just playing with your friends. All in all, it was a very fun experience, and if you're not burnt out on Battle Royale genre in general, or you're looking for the same Battle Royale experience only in first-person shooter, Apex Legend is a solid title for the genre, and from my first impressions at least, I can recommend it greatly. So give it a download and give it a try. Thanks for watching, I've been Tom, and I shall see you next time.